Some young 4-H members from around the region packed up their stuff and loaded their animals as they hit the road back to their communities. Now, Bart Petiasa gives us some highlights from the weekend and explains how the 4-H Expo has grown since its humble beginnings.
Calves took to the ring to strut their stuff and to be modeled in front of a full audience. It was a favorite to 4-H members and spectators alike. And it was just one of the events during a packed 3 days. The expo has been a staple in the border city for quite some time now, even before the 4-H was included.
Tracked back to 1946, where it started as a fat beef show, and then it evolved into a more of a larger component where more clubs would come to town, and then it was believed called the Lloydminster Interclub Show, and then a few years later we started calling it Lloydminster 4-H Expo.
From horse shows to cattle, there was plenty to see and do this year.
This year we had the 8 beef clubs, and I believe we had 11 or 12 horse clubs. We had a multitude of multi-projects, so it's grown into a large, huge component of 4-H actually in all of our provinces.
Shannon Eaton owns his own beef operation and has been coming to the expo for the last 7 years.
There's a lot of families I know that are involved here that really lead the way in the purebred industry as well. Therefore, they really dig down deep to bring their best.
A former 4-H member himself, Eaton and other area buyers regularly pay above market prices at a show like this.
There's a lot of work these kids put into it. It's very good advertising for our business, and we just enjoy the 4-H atmosphere.
As for the expo, Mike Sidoric says they are always looking to make every year bigger and better.
Always looking for ways to make improvements to every event we do, and this is one.
Bart Petiasa, Newcap News.
All right, so in this month's RCMP interview, we decided to change things up and asked you, the viewer, to submit questions you had for police. Now, while we were not able to get all of the questions answered, here are just a few of them. All right, so joining me here on the desk is Staff Sergeant Dave Callis with the Lloydminster RCMP. So we're just going to get right into our very first question. Now, this one is from Valerie. She asked, when will we be seeing more cops and laws of the road enforced in town? It's nerve-wracking driving down the road by the multiplex and have people pass us on a no passing road and then speed off. She's just kind of wondering if you guys will be coming down hard on late night drivers that are stunting.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that we do have a dedicated traffic unit here in Lloydminster. They work, the shifts that hopefully maximize their impact in the community. They do work late at night, and we do enforce, any of the traffic infractions that we do see. They do get enforced, but some of the ones that we do focus on are impaired driving, intersections, as well as seatbelts, because those are the infractions that have shown to cause or contribute to injury accidents. So our members are out there, they are enforcing the laws. I know that sometimes people will see a traffic infraction and there just isn't a police officer around that is going to pull them over, and that's just a fact of life.
Okay, we will go to our next question. This one is from Erwin. He's asking, what is the solution other than hiring more officers to reduce the crime rate in Lloydminster?
Okay, well, it's a good question, and what I would do is I would fall back on the statistics that we have for the year ending March 31st, 2012, and the crime types that I follow or look at, which are some of the property crimes that are reported by the public. We saw a decrease in break-and-enters of 13.7%. Theft of motor vehicles was down 6.4%. Theft over was down 13.8%, theft under was down 23.8%, and mischief to property was down 15.6% for the 2012-13 years. So that's from April 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013. So we're actually seeing a reduction in crime, and that's on top of a reduction that we saw the previous year. So what that tells me is the strategy that we have employed with targeting property crime or people that are involved in property crime as well as drugs in town, that strategy is working because we're seeing less people be victims of crime in Lloydminster.
Very good. All right, so our next question is from Kevin. Now he's asking, what time of day and days of the week do playground and school zone speed limits apply?
Okay, well, school zone times are in effect Monday to Friday, September to June. And it's on days when school is in session, so it's not Saturday or Sunday. The times that we enforce, and this is the Alberta standard, and what we do is we apply that to both sides of the border. It's 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., and then 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So you'll see those are the times that kids are either arriving at school, going for lunch, or then leaving for the day.
All right, and so as far as playground zones go, though, that is year-round.
Playground zones are year-round, and we start the enforcement at 8:30 in the morning, and then it's until 1 hour after sunset. So if you're coming up to a playground zone, that's in the summer, it's in the winter, so you have to obey that speed limit, and it is on Saturday and Sunday as well.
All right, so that concludes our question period with Staff Sergeant Dave Callis. Now, we will be doing this one again, where you can submit your questions and we can ask our RCMP officer to get your questions. Once again, this is Staff Sergeant Dave Callis. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so in this installment of Retrospect, this week from the archives, Brian Hardy takes us back 15 years ago this week when we saw the passing of a beloved civil servant, and Cold Lake gets a new fighter pilot training facility.
It's early June 1998, and Lloydminster says its final goodbye to a long-serving fire chief.
Over 800 people filled the Stockade Convention Center today, remembering Ted Gustafson, a fire chief and a friend.
But as someone as the boys have said in their notes, behind that rough and gruff exterior was a real warm-hearted person.
Gustafson's coffin was driven through parts of Lloydminster, fittingly on the vehicle he was most passionate about. He was then escorted by current and past members of the fire department to the cemetery, where he was laid to rest. Flags are flying high once again in the border city after being at half-mast for most of the week in memory of Ted Gustafson. Mr. Gustafson was a very well-respected man and a very colorful man to those who knew him. Lloydminster has not only lost a fire chief, but a friend as well. He will be missed. Brian Mudrick, NewsHour.
This week in 1997, Cold Lake got some much welcome news.
The quiet streets of Cold Lake are deceiving as excitement is brewing in all corners of the community. Almost a year ago, the Tri-Town hosted a delegation from NATO to show them the facilities the area has to offer. It worked. Now a year later, 3 countries, Denmark, the United Kingdom, and Norway, have signed a letter of intent choosing Canada over the U.S. to host their fighter pilot training. Training is set to begin at Moose Jaw in late 1999. The contract will pump $1.5 billion into Canada's economy over the 20 years and create 500 new jobs. In Cold Lake, Julie Matthews, NewsHour.
Join us next time for a giant class reunion on Retrospect.